We're ready here? Okay. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting for the City of Leawood for September 27th, 2023. Do we have roll call, please?
Members Munson.
Present.
Dunn.
Here.
Dr. Pepis.
Here.
Clausen.
Here.
Hawk.
Here.
Farrington.
Here.
Bussing.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. We have 2 minutes, from prior meetings from the July and the August meeting that have not been approved yet. Are there any, let's address both of them together if there are no comments from the board.
I move the minutes be approved as submitted.
Second. Second. We have a motion for approval of the minutes from the July and the August meeting, and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The minutes are approved as written.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask who seconded that?
I did.
Thank you.
We have a full agenda tonight. So I would ask the applicants if you would limit your remarks to 5 minutes. And if people are here to speak for or against one of the cases, please limit your remarks to 2 minutes. And if we could have our timekeeper take care of that, I'd appreciate it. The first case this evening is case 53-2023. This is the residence at 8032 Belinder. This is a request for a fence height exemption in accordance with LDO section 16-4-9.4 in an R1 district. The applicant is Andrew Elmer owner. The staff have a report, please.
The applicant would like to replace the existing 4-foot-tall fence with a 6-foot-tall privacy fence. The property currently has 4 different fences that would be replaced with a fence that matches on all 4 sides if the request is approved.
And the fences are different sized and are different?
They're all 4 foot, so it would be replaced with a 6-foot fence, but it would be in the same, the existing location.
Okay. Are there questions for staff from the board? If not, is the applicant here?
He should be zooming in.
Is Mr. Elmer online?
Val, do you show anybody zooming in?
Is that him there by any chance? I just walked in.
No, he was going to be out of town. He was going to present the
Oh, he
case
was?
from out of town.
Okay.
If he's not here, I say we move on to the next case.
Okay. We will.
Can you
This
hear me?
is Travis Torres, Director of Building and Code Enforcement. Oh, here we go.
Hi, all.
Andrew?
Yes, yes. Hey, can everybody hear me okay? Thank you for the Zoom invite. I apologize. I'm traveling out of town with work.
Could we turn this up a little bit? I can't hear hardly.
Andrew, can you speak up just a little bit?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity to present the case. This is the first time I'm doing this, and what was described with my application is very straightforward. I have a hot tub in the rear yard. I have young children, and I'm applying for the exception so that I can increase privacy and safety of the rear yard.
Okay. Are there questions by the board for the applicant?
And I did place an email that I received this morning at your station from one of the neighbors who is against the project.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can we, if you have a copy of that, can you cite the objection that they had in their letter? Please?
Say that again?
Can you tell us or cite the objection that the letter had?
Do you want me to read the letter?
Not the whole letter,
Okay.
but their objection.
Let's see. We object to the request for the fence height adjustment and unknowns of what type of style of fence the homeowner will use since I think it's supposed to be they already did not match existing fencing at front of his house.
So are they objecting to the height or just to the appearance or the material or what?
The height.
Mainly the height.
Height?
I certainly can't speak for the composer of the letter, but I think they did not like the look of the current 4 different types.
Okay. Thank you.
When I purchased the home, there were already multiple fencing types installed.
Mr. Chairman, Wade, do we have pictures of the existing?
We do not. I do have this information. The permits were issued by the city for the 4 different fences. One was in 2011, one was 2018, 2019, and 2022. So 3 of the 4 fences are fairly new, newer, but we did issue permits for those fences.
And are they wood fences or
Yes, sir.
they are? Okay. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask staff, is that for, the permit, was it issued for that house, or is it for neighboring houses, the permits?
Only the front, I believe, belonged to this house. The other 3 would probably, I don't know if he's worked something out with the neighbors to replace the fence totally or not.
That's a question I had for the applicant. You reminded me in this letter. I don't see him now, but I assume he can hear me. My question is, the letter asserts that the fences that are currently surrounding your house don't belong to you, and the proposal is to replace all the existing fences with this fence. Can you address that? Do you have deals with the neighbors to replace all the existing fence around your yard now with this fence?
I am not familiar with the term deal. As I inquired with the city regarding the procedure for applying for this, I was not instructed that I need to reach a deal with neighbors.
No, that's not my point. My point is that you, in the application, say you intend to replace all these fences with your 6-foot fence. And if they don't belong to you, I'm just asking you if you've made arrangements to be able to replace fences that don't belong to you.
Again, I was not instructed that I need to make arrangements. There's a bit of gray area in this part of the interpretation in my perspective. I'm an architect and I'm familiar with codes and regulations. I was not instructed that I need to communicate deals or agreements with neighbors. I was instructed to apply for the exception, which I have. I am more than happy to take on the entire expense. I've not inquired for financial split with the neighbors. And because there are 4 different types of fence, which one of them I applied for and received a permit for and built per regulations and code, regardless of whether my neighbors like the style of it, I'm more than willing to work with the neighbors on the aesthetic. But I've done everything to date that, as I understand, I was supposed to do in the application.
Well, I'll state it one more time, just because I feel like I must be confusing you. The application says that you intend to replace the existing fences with a 6-foot fence. My question was simply whether you have the legal right to replace the existing fences or not. Do they belong to you? Do the fences all around your yard belong to you?
Or are they the neighbors?
Respectfully, I am unsure who they belong to.
Okay.
They've been built over the series of a number of generations. The rear fence is a chain link metal fence, which is about 30 inches in height. It's not even 4. There are 2 styles of wood picket fence on either side, one on the north, one on the south. My thought is having a uniform look around the yard would unify and be aesthetically an improvement than having 4 different styles, while providing more security and safety and privacy.
I mean, typically, these fences are placed on the property line by
Yes.
usually one resident or another. And so who installed them and who built them, if you don't know, then you probably wouldn't want to be replacing a fence, taking down somebody's fence and replacing it without their permission. I think that's what we're referring to.
No, I understand that, but nowhere in my application process was I instructed to inquire with neighbors or determine who owns the fence.
It was not part of the, no, you're right, it's not part of the application process that I'm aware of, but
But you're proposing to replace the existing fences.
That's correct. And my understanding is well, I shouldn't assume that it would be my fence then, but I'm applying to put a fence around my rear yard to support the pool and spa enclosure code regulations to provide more security and safety and privacy in the rear yard. And the fences are already there. There are adjacent to my neighbor's properties, there are 3 different styles. So I thought, in order to create more safety and security and privacy in my rear yard, there would be the opportunity to unify the style of fence. There is a 6-foot, if you look from my rear yard, there are 7 different styles of fences that I can see from my kitchen window. There's a 6-foot tall fence to my neighbors, around my neighbor's rear yard who have a pool, and that is to my northeast. There is a chain link fence around my rear yard. There are 4 different styles of wood picket fences to the other 3 yards I can see. So there's the comment about aesthetically pleasing or unifying. There's just a number of styles right now, and I feel that architecturally it would be a visual improvement along with the other noted privacy and security improvements.
But typically, you would want to replace a fence on the property line. What you don't want to do is what we would not want you to do is to build a fence inside and have 2 fences. Is that right?
Correct.
That's correct.
Yeah, there would
I
be,
do not want to do that.
there'd be no way to maintain the grass and weeds that would grow between the 2. It'd push it off onto the neighbor.
I mean, we could approve in theory that you could replace all your fence, all the fences around your property, but you're going to have to go to your neighbors and get that and get them to agree with it if they own the fences. All right?
How do I determine who owns the fences? Would that be associated with previous permits?
With a wood fence, it's the good side always faces out. I don't remember, it seems like they were picket fences. So I don't know how you would determine, they were picket fences, picket on both sides, so I don't know how you would determine that.
Well, I would go talk to your neighbors and say, look, I want to replace this fence. And if they don't agree, then you can't replace it, I would
Mr. Chairman,
presume.
would staff have addresses associated with each of those permits that were pulled in the various years?
Yes,
So that would probably determine who owns each section of that fence.
correct.
For some, yeah,
I understand, Chairman, what you're requesting or what you're stating. What I don't understand is why this wasn't, okay, let me retract. I'm seeking the ability to improve the safety, security, and privacy in my rear yard. I've pursued this through the proper channels and procedure, taken on much expense thus far just to get here, and at no point in the process was I advised that I need to get approval from neighbors for this. I would not have applied and taken on the expenses of sending out certified mailings to 16 residents within the certain radius had I been told to seek yes approvals from my neighbors beforehand.
I don't want to shift into a blame shifting process here. That's not going to serve
Neither
anybody's
do I.
purposes. But you made an application to replace the existing fences. It raises a question in my mind whether you have the right to do that or not. That's where the question came from. The application to replace the existing fences is your responsibility. And it's a legitimate question to ask if you have the legal ability to replace those existing fences, because we don't want to approve a 6-foot fence that's going to have to be built 3 feet from an existing fence. That creates nightmares.
Oh, and I'm not suggesting that.
I know
just-
you're not.
Well, I think you understand our concerns here. And
Yes, sir.
And I think we should move on, and I would like to,
One fence.
is anyone here that wishes to speak for or against this application?
If I could add some context, this is Travis Torres, Director of Building and Code Enforcement. So really, you can only build a fence, and we can only approve a fence to be built within the property boundaries of that owner that is applying. So, you know, your fence face would go right up against your property line in theory. You also, if other properties have pools and those fences belong to them, it's not that you couldn't replace that fence if you had permission from that owner, like, hey, is it okay if I replace this? But you might have to double side it in order to take care of some of the fence barrier requirements that are required for a pool, so it's not climbable. But it would really be a civil kind of matter between him and his owners on the way he filled out his application, correct? But we only look at what you can do within your property boundaries, and that's what we would approve for permits. So I just wanted to add that context. Thanks.
Okay. Again, is anyone here that wishes to speak for or against this application? We do know that we do have a letter from Gail Starman, who is not supportive of this application.
Sir, if I may make one final comment, that is my rear yard neighbor who the husband has made a comment to me that they would use binoculars to watch my activity in my rear yard.
And why would they do that?
We don't have enough time, sir, to get into this, but the comment was made that, you know, we see you in the hot tub and looks like you're doing some nice landscaping improvements in the back and, you know, might just need to get the binoculars out to watch. So This, not surprised by the party that filed the against.
Other comments by the board?
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple comments. So I think there's a couple different things to be looking at with this case. The applicant is asking for an exception to the height of the fence, and as it was stated in the application, to replace. So I think there's one part to determine who owns each of those fences and determining if he can replace, in fact, any one of those sides. It sounds like he has a permit that he had applied for one of the sides, so that would be one that he definitely owns. The other three, you could continue this case and go back and talk to your neighbors and determine whether or not you could replace those existing fences. Or we could move forward and try and vote on this for you to put in a fence within your property boundaries. However, typically, we do not approve fence to fence against each other because of the gap between and maintenance and all of that. That's not something that the board typically will approve. So I'm not quite sure which way we should move forward tonight.
Well, I'd like to know if this is going to be a clean replacement or not before I vote on this. By clean replacement, I mean that this fence would replace all the current fences.
And will be located on the property line.
Right.
That is my intent.
We could make our approval conditional, I suppose. Could we do that?
I would recommend either continuing to find out if the neighbors give permission to rip out their fences and replace it with this fence. I think if you go to approve it right now, it would be for the fence to be on the inside of the property line, and that, wait, I don't know if that's a different section of the code, if that would need to be a separate application, like, citing a different section.
It would be the same section, but I don't think they would approve the fence permit based on that.
Yeah,
Are you saying city staff would not approve it if they were going to place it inside?
Correct, unless it were, now we do issue permits if he wants to just build it around the patio.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have to go to the board for that as long as it's within 3 feet of the patio and the hot tub. He can do that now without going to the board. If he wants to put it on the property line, he needs your approval.
Well, we could continue this case until the next meeting, in which case that the applicant can contact his neighbors, and
My
they come
neighbors
to
in the
agreement
rear.
on how they're going to replace the fence, if they approve it, and then we could act on it next month.
Well, that'd be the
My
cleanest
neighbor's
way
in
to
the
deal
rear
with
of
it,
the
in my
room right
opinion.
now. I'm sorry. It's hard to tell when someone's speaking. I apologize. I'm not trying to speak over, but I do see my neighbor who has filed the against letter is in the room, in the rear of the room.
We can't compel her to talk if she doesn't want to speak. That's fine.
Okay.
I don't know how that helps this situation.
Is there a motion from the board?
I would move to continue this.
Good. We have a motion to continue this case until the next meeting, so the applicant can have discussions with his neighbors and come to an agreement on how they're going to handle any fence replacements. And we do have a second. All those in favor of continuing this case, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion passes. This case will be continued until next week, next month. Next case for this evening is case 54-2023. This is at 3120 El Monte Street. This request for a variance to the side yard setback in accordance with LDO section 16-2-5.3D in an RP1 district. The applicant is, in this case, is Jana and Craig Mickey, owners. Does staff have a report, please?
The applicants are wanting to construct a screened-in porch on the back of the home. The new addition would be placed 25 feet 6 inches from the rear property line. Therefore, a variance for 4 feet 6 inches is needed to construct the porch as shown on the plan.
Are there questions for staff? This is a variance, so we will let the applicant provide his comments, and anyone that wishes to speak for or against it, then we'll have to vote on the 5 factors. So, any questions for staff? Is the applicant here? You may come to the lectern and provide us your name and address. You need to speak into the mic because we got to record this.
You bet. So address and name?
Address and name, yes.
13120 Elmonte Street. Leewood, Craig Mickey.
Okay?
So we're requesting the variance, as you can see here, for a screened-in porch. You know, the reasoning is we do have a shallower lot in the neighborhood than, you know, most of the homes in the neighborhood. You know, obvious benefits for us, but we do think there's ancillary benefits for just the neighborhood in general, increased property value, privacy, and cleaning up the back of the home. We're newer homeowners. We've been in there less than 3 years, so we're making improvements to the home and to the aesthetic of the back. If you also notice where we are, we're on a corner, so you know this is also visible to the street. So again, this is making the neighborhood more appealing as well, in addition to the obvious benefits for us as the homeowners.
Question is, so your variance is for 4.5 feet.
Yep.
So why couldn't you meet the variance requirements or meet the setback requirements by redesigning your structure here?
Be very narrow. Be pretty narrow.
Could you make it longer and make it
Be a
provide
hallway.
more space? Other questions for the applicant? I noticed in your analysis of the 5 factors, you had touched on the uniqueness property. And you had mentioned that your house has the smallest depth of any house on the street, which would make it unique. The Ames map shows that your next door neighbor has roughly the same property size as yours. So it's not really unique. And the one across the street's about the same size too. So as you get further down the street, the depth of the lots do get bigger, but there are 2 within 100 feet of your house that are basically the same size as your house. So it's really not unique. And that's a factor we have to look at as we evaluate a variance.
Sounds good.
Any comments?
I concur with what you just said about, I looked at the map, and if it wasn't outlined, I wouldn't be able to tell which was which. They all look about the same, except the ones that are pie-shaped.
Yep, yeah,
They're all
you're,
the same.
yep, you're right. No. Do you have any other comments?
They're all the same, or I thought only 3 were the same? I'm sorry, I just didn't.
Pardon me, I can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. They're all the same, or 3 of them are the same?
Well, there's 3 within close proximity.
They're the same, not all.
But down the road, obviously, there's some pie-shaped ones, yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
That have a deeper lot. So, okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Is anyone here that wishes to speak for or against this application?
I do have a question for staff, if I may.
Yes.
Staff, any idea what the area of this particular lot is? Does it meet the zoning requirements per se?
Yeah, it meets for R1. Yeah.
Okay, so it's not an undersized lot.
I'm sorry, it is RP1, so RP1s are a little bit smaller, but all the lots are
Are they
RP.
12,000 or 15,000 square feet?
12,000.
12,000, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Like I said, looking down on the map, doesn't pop out as being any different.
Well, this is a variance, so we have to, we have to evaluate the 5 factors. We have to go through and vote on each one, and for a motion for approval, we have to vote in the affirmative on all 5. So the first one we have to evaluate is uniqueness of the property. Discussion by the board.
Well, like we've discussed, to me, it doesn't meet that criteria.
Other comments?
Are we just talking about uniqueness of property at this point?
Right. You're not, uniqueness, yes. All those who feel the uniqueness criterion has been satisfied, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no?
No.
We voted 0 to 6 on uniqueness. The second is rights of adjacent property owners. It's been noted that all letters were mailed, no comments or complaints, correct?
That's correct.
In light of that, all those who feel the second factor, rights of adjacent property owners, has been satisfied, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. We voted in the affirmative on the second factor. And third is hardship.
Mr. Chairman, typically when we get to hardship, there's usually fixtures or easements or gas lines or something that's in the way that deviates from the build line. In this situation, it's wide open and there's nothing that's there, so the hardship is on the owner of the property. So I don't feel that the hardship's been met.
Other comments?
I just agree with that, and our staff has educated me on the law in this area, and the one clear thing that cannot be found to be a hardship is that the property owner will simply not be able to do what they want to do. That can't be considered a hardship. So,
All those who feel that the hardship criterion has been met, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no.
No.
The fourth factor is public safety and general welfare. Discussion by the board?
Staff advises that it doesn't affect this particular requirement, and I agree.
All those who feel that the fourth criterion has been satisfied, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. I think we all were in favor, right?
Right.
Okay. The last is spirit and intent. As staff noted, the intent of the ordinance is to provide safe distances between structures and to protect the privacy of neighbors. And so that's why this is a variance. So any comments about the last factor, spirit and intent? All those who feel this factor, spirit and intent criterion has been satisfied, please indicate by saying aye.
aye.
Opposed, no.
No.
No. No.
Who said?
No.
Who voted for approval? One.
So did you state it that it meets the spirit and intent, or it does not meet?
If it doesn't meet the spirit and intent criterion.
Well, wait a minute, I'm sorry. Now I'm confused. Were we voting on whether it does meet it or doesn't?
Let's
meet it?
rephrase that.
Okay.
If you think the spirit and intent criterion has been satisfied,
Yes.
please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
No.
I think we voted about 3 to 3. And I will vote as no, so that would be 3-4. Since I broke the tie. We evaluated all 5 factors. We felt that the uniqueness criterion, the hardship, and the spirit and intent criterion were not satisfied. Therefore, we must support a motion for denial in this case.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to move denial of case 54-2023, address 13120 El Monte Street. Request for a variance to the side yard setback in accordance with the LDO, section 16-5-5.3, parent D, parent, in an RP1 district.
We have a motion for denial in case 54-2023, and a second. That was Mel, second. All those in favor of denial in this case, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. This case has been denied. You'll be officially notified in writing by the city. The next case this evening is case 55-2023, 11114 Juniper Street. This is a request for a fence height exception in accordance with LDO section 16-4-9.4 in an R1 district. Applicant is Mark Murphy, owner. The staff have a report, please.
The applicant would like to replace the existing 4-foot-tall fence with a 6-foot-tall shadow box fence that would match the neighbor's fence.
Other questions for staff?
Is that all neighbors, one neighbor, 2 neighbors?
At least one neighbor, but I would let him answer that
Okay.
question.
Very good, thanks.
Okay. Is the applicant here? Please give us your name and address.
Hi, I'm Megan Murphy, and address 11114 Juniper Drive in Leawood.
You may present your case.
Sure. So we originally requested the new fencing because of our dog. We have a 50-pound lab mix, and he's jumping the fence. He will not do that with a 6-foot fence. We've been there 14 years. All of our neighbors have been the same throughout. And I don't know if our yard is essentially a triangle. The longest portion of the yard already has a 6-foot fence. That's the shadow box, so it's the same on both sides. So we're requesting just that we replace the back and the side that are red in this picture, the 2 smaller sections of the triangle. And it's currently a 4-foot fence. So making it the 6-foot shadow box all the way around will make it more uniform, make it safe. All of our neighbors support and would like for us to go ahead and make the change. So I think in terms of aesthetics and support and the pools that are around there already, it's been supported by the neighbors. And the other thing I might just say is currently we have a zip line for the dog to just contain what we're doing, which is actually somewhat less appealing to the neighbors in general. So just to mention that as well.
Okay. Are there questions for the applicant?
Now, you're replacing the fence, all the fences there now you're replacing with the new fence, correct?
Just the red sections, but the fence that we're proposing to put 6 foot will match exactly the shadow box and wood stain of the longer existing
Okay.
green line.
Well, I had a interesting event to try to decipher what I was looking at, but I think I understand it now. Thanks.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you. Is anyone here that wishes to speak for or against this application? Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, on case 55-2023, at the address 11114 Juniper Street, request for a fence height exception in accordance with the LDO section 16-4-9.4 in an R1 district. I move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion for approval in case 55-2023 in a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It passes unanimously. You'll be notified in writing to the city. The next case for this evening is case 56-2023. This is address 8305 Lee Boulevard. This is a request for an exception to the side yard setback in accordance with LDO section 16-2-5.3D in an R1 district. This is Jamie Salinardi, owner. Are there questions for staff?
The applicant would like to construct a new addition that will extend off the southeast side of the home. The plan indicates the addition will be 10 feet from the southern property line. An exception for 5 feet is requested to construct the addition as shown on the plan.
Okay. Because the existing house was built on the 10-foot line, right?
Correct.
Okay. Are there any questions for staff?
So, Mr. Chairman, so this is a legal non-conforming issue.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is the applicant here? Please come to the lectern and give us your name and address.
And there is an additional packet at your stations about this case for you to look at.
Okay.
Did you get this?
Yeah, I got it.
Give us your name and address, and you may present your case.
Good evening, my name is Jamie Salinardi. My address is 8305 Lee Boulevard, and this is Brad Randolph. He is the contractor I've hired to do the construction. He's here to answer questions, as I'm an attorney and he's a builder, so he'll be better equipped to answer any questions about the project. Thank you.
Okay. You may present your case. Whoever's going to present it can go ahead.
Okay, so we are proposing to build a screened-in porch off the side of our house. It will extend the same exact distance to the side as our existing, our bedroom. It would not extend any further than that, and that would be right at the 10-foot line. We've submitted the proposal along with all of the materials and all of the other information about the quality of the project. And from the street, you would not be able to see it because it would extend the same exact distance because I'm right on Lee Boulevard.
On the AMS map, there's 3 structures shown, one of which I assume is yours. Can you point out, is it the left, right, or middle house structure? It's on the AMS map. And then point out where your proposed structure would go. No, it's not that, it's the photograph, the aerial photograph.
He's talking about,
Aerial photograph, please. Yeah, it's.
that's it.
Well, yeah, that's it, but that's.
It's the middle house.
Which one's the house? The middle? I assume it is, but.
This is my house.
Well, put it where we can see it on our map, please.
There it is.
My pin points to the house.
There you go. Now, where would your structure go? Right there, and how close is it to the side yard?
The same exact distance, it would be 10 feet, which is the exact same distance as what is already there. So it would be,
It won't exceed this extension of the house that was built originally right here. So we're in an even plane with this portion of the house.
Well, an early editorial, it would at least seem like that would be a better location for that, away from that close, that very, very close side yard, both for your neighbor and yourself. But that's just my editorial comment.
Are there other questions for the applicant? The reason this is an exception is because the existing house was built, well, it was built apparently with a 10-foot setback from the property line. This was built when, what year?
1941.
41.
That's almost as old as I am, yeah. 1941.
Are there any other questions for the applicant for this case?
Question?
Yes.
Sir, is there, from the notes here, it indicates there's a privacy fence between your house and the house to the, was that the south, I guess?
There is.
Okay, there, thank you.
And it is a 6-foot tall fence that received BZA approval.
We've had this one email,
Yes, sir, that's the only one.
who's obviously not real supportive of this application, because she claims it's already too close to her house, but what kind of setback is her house? Do you have any idea, Wade? The neighbor?
I'm not real sure. It does encroach. It is also probably 10 to 12 feet away from the property line. I did not measure their house.
Right. Okay. So you're proposing this would be just a single-story addition. Is there a fireplace in there?
There is a gas fireplace in there.
Okay.
It's more a 3-season room. It's just a screen.
It's what?
It's a 3-season room, like a screen room.
No, it is? Okay. Okay. All right. If there are no other questions, and is anyone here that wishes to speak for or against this application? Okay. You folks may sit down then.
Thank you.
You could come collectively or individually, but it's up to you. I just need, if you're going to speak, I need names and addresses, though.
Check accounts.
My name is Tally Hobbs. I'm the homeowner at 8309 Lee Boulevard. Members of the board, good evening. Thank you very much. My wife Jolynn and I sincerely appreciate your time. We really do. And we appreciate this opportunity to present our opposition to the exception request at 8305. To the point, we don't have any issue with the design nor the existence of the structure itself, only the planned location. As it's mentioned before, if it's allowed, there would only be a 10 feet amount of 10 feet of space between the backside of that structure and our property line, and where it's proposed to be located is basically our patio area. I think the main issue is just the sense of privacy with the situation. The Salinardis often have company over. They host guests, and weather permitting, a lot of times that's outside on their patio. It's a lovely patio, lots of plantings, water feature, there's a nice tree, and all of that provides a buffer. So, you know, the visual aspects, seeing folks, hearing conversations, music, it's all very, very diffused, so no problem whatsoever. But we very strongly feel that the physical presence of such a not insignificant size structure, so close and right in full view from our patio, would greatly diminish the current feeling of space and privacy that we share. What we do respectfully propose that the owners could consider redesigning the addition to extend from the east, otherwise the back of their home. That's in short. My wife, I think, has some further points that she'd like to share.
Thank you.
Hello and good evening. My name is Jolynn Hobbs. I reside at 8309 Lee Boulevard. I'll try to be really quick and respectful of the time limits. As most of you are aware, in Old Leawood, some of the homes are set very close together. In 8305 and 8309, which is our home, we're definitely close together. And I wanted to address, when we bought our house in 1996, you know, we have a 10-foot span between the corner of their original home on 8305 and our home, our property line in 8309. And when we purchased the house, that was the way that it was, and we had no issue. And that span doesn't create a problem because we don't sit outside in the front, we don't entertain, we don't have those type of activities in the front of our homes. We do live on Lee Boulevard, which at times has significant road noise, and so our backyard space is very important to us. So the proposed addition is directly across from our patio and our kitchen door and porch area. It's already tight between our two homes, and it would also create a greater lack of privacy for both families. The looming vertical wall would diminish the current feeling of space between our homes, impact our visual space, and encroach on our property. And it would also reduce our privacy and significantly impact our enjoyment utilizing our patio area. In addition to the vertical structure, our view from our home would be the back wall of the structure and the fireplace chimney. I don't believe that it's a hardship request for 8305, but it will definitely impact us at 8309 if approved. So we would like to respectfully request that the BZA deny the exception and enforce the LDO. And in closing, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to discuss this with the BZA tonight, as this has significant long-term impact to the way that we love our house that we've had for 27 years. And I'd also like to thank Mr. Thompson for all of his assistance. His professionalism reflects well on the city. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is anyone else here that wishes to speak for or against this application? If not, is there a motion to the board?
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Sure, of course.
If I could go back to the applicant, have you thought ever about possibly moving this to another portion of the, you know, because as we draw the line from the portion of the side, on the front of your house, that's a bricked-in place with a window in it. So it's a structure that is pretty much soundproof to what the neighbors have. Now you're building a structure that's wide open, but closer now, and it's not an enclosed structure, it's a screened-in structure. Have you thought about maybe possibly moving it someplace else?
Well,
Or would it work?
we don't think it would work, and if we did, then it would take, we have some open space too on the, right here is basically our patio space. To enclose that would then take away all of our outdoor space. So that's why we proposed to put it there and did not want to extend it. And we specifically made sure it was not extended any further past the already 10-foot property line that's already existing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Now, I would like to make a comment. I mean, when we've had these exceptions in the past, we've always looked at how close adjacent properties are. And in some cases, you know, a house may be, a little over the 15 feet, maybe they're 12 feet or 10 feet even. They can't be, we wouldn't allow anything less than 10, but the adjacent house might be, 20 feet away or 25 feet away. It's a different situation. This is like the extreme case where both houses are legal non-conforming. And so I'm glad that the adjacent owners were here because this is a concern.
Well, as I understand it, the statute specifically requires us to find that this would not cause an adverse impact on surrounding properties, correct? So that's a criteria we have to work with.
Again, is there a motion from the board?
Mr. Chairman, based on the discussion and the evidence offered, I would like to move for denial of case 56-2023, address 8305 Lee Boulevard. Request for an exception to the side yard setback in accordance with the LDO section 16-2-5.3, parent D, parent, in an R1 district.
Second.
We have a motion for denial in case 56-2023 and a second. All those in favor of denial in this case, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
We have voted 5-1 for denial in this case. So motion passes. This case has been denied. It'll be officially notified in writing by the city. The next case for this evening is case 57-2023. This case is at 12609 Norwood, a request for a variance to the setback for the placement of an outdoor fireplace in accordance with LDO section 16-2-5.3D in an R1 district. This is Mark Walton, owner, is the applicant. Does staff have a report, please?
The property owner would like to add an outdoor fireplace to the rear yard. A variance for 8 feet is requested to construct the fireplace as shown on the plan.
You know, in my packet, there was no plot plan that showed the location of the house, the fireplace, and the property line. Did anyone else have the same?
Yeah, or adjacent, let's see. There's an aerial photograph that if you can look at that one, you can kind of figure it out. It'll take some explanation, but.
Well, I mean, I looked at it on the Ames map, but.
That's the one I'm talking about, yeah.
I typically like to see a plot plan that shows exactly where the.
I'm not arguing that, but I'm saying things can be made from this.
You're right, they can be.
Use your imagination.
It doesn't appear they've supplied a plot plan. If they do, the building department may have it. I just don't have it.
Okay, all right.
We did not require one, just given the cost up front. If it were approved, we would make them do a stake survey to verify that the setback that was approved was what they built it at.
Okay. So they've requested a variance, and the amount that they've requested is 8 feet. And so we know where the fireplace, is that the?
The fireplace would be the rectangle area. I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit. The property line is just past the trees that are shown on the plan.
Wow.
Okay.
So then my question would be, how far is the property about the house that sits right behind that? How close is that to that fireplace? The fireplace flue, actually.
That I don't know. It would, the best I could have done would have been measured off of Ames, and that doesn't give a good enough measurement to pass on to the board.
Well, we can see, the Ames does show some property, does show some housing. I can't tell from the way this is presented which is north, south, east, or west. If you look at this map right here, which is north on this map? That's north. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. So I assume then this particular property, it would be west of the other property, right?
I think east.
Sorry.
Yeah, it would be east.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for staff. So are those stairs that go down into that central area that are shown on?
Yes.
Okay. So the fireplace is being proposed to be on the back side of that circle?
No, no, it would be, if you can see the black line I drew,
Yeah.
Oh,
it goes from there, and you can, and then I drew a line to about where the other structure is, but I don't have that measurement.
oh, okay. Because,
Well, if you want to do a measurement, there's a couple of automobiles down there on the parking lot, and the typical automobile is, I think, 16 or 18 feet long. And if you just sketch that over, you could tell it's not even 40 feet from where they've got their fireplace to the house, close out, not even 40 feet. If you want to use those vehicles as a way to measure.
Mr. Chairman, in the packet, you have a letter from Fire Marshal. And in it, it states that they recommend a minimum of 10 feet of clearance for the proposed outdoor fireplace for the property line. It says it appears there's only 7 feet of clearance provided based on the submittal that we received. So is this different from the 8-foot variance?
It would be 7,
It's a 15-foot setback, so they're proposing it at 7 feet, which would be an 8-foot variance to the setback, I think.
being in the odd-shaped rear yard, they can go, they can use the 15 feet for a side yard setback.
So
The bottom line is that basically on what the fire department recommends, they're deficient in this application.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
which that would be concern for obviously public safety and general welfare right off the bat. Looking at the plot plan, that's what I was trying to determine where you had the design of that fireplace. Are there other areas along that patio that the fireplace could be shifted where it would, A, meet the fire marshal's requirements, and B, meet the variance as well? Or not need to have a variance on the setback?
It appears, yes, it could be moved.
This is a freestanding fireplace, gas-powered, wood-powered what?
I'll let the applicant answer that.
Okay.
Well, we haven't heard from the applicant yet, but I will say that we have to go through the 5 factors on this case, and public safety and general welfare is going to be hard to meet if the fire department does not agree with the current location of this proposed fireplace. So other questions for staff? Are you the applicant, sir?
Oh, one more question.
Okay.
Based on the north arrow, I assume that the prevailing wind blows across this property from the southwest to the northeast. And that's based on the prevailing wind in this part of the world. Okay? And so that means that if there are sparks coming from that fireplace, that prevailing wind's going to spread those sparks pretty quickly.
Other questions for staff or just other comments? Please give us your name and address, sir.
Mr. Chairman, board members, thank you. My name's Mark Walton, and I'm accompanied by my wife, Mary Ellen, 12609 Norwood Road. I have put together some pictures that answer everything you just asked. Can you see this?
On your screens? Okay. And you are Mr. Thompson? Correct. Okay, we've talked before, okay. So this is the proposed fireplace that we are wanting to build there. First of all, there is a mistake on this plan because it was based on a plan from 2021. The distance is 12 feet from my fence, which is on my property, to the fireplace there. And so the label on this is 7 foot and change, which is incorrect. So I want to make that point to answer your point there. This is my property. In 2021, I started out this project and contacted Jami with the city to try to get this done. This was the original proposed where the red is there. There were two problems with this, which I did not realize. It was not within the property line of the home, and it's too close. That is the 7'6" measurement from my fence to the fireplace as that stands, which got transposed onto the new plans there, which are 12 feet away. This is my property that you were asking about for plans. The north is directly above. This home here is to the west of my closest neighbor. Closest neighbor is 30 feet plus from my fence. This is the new plan in a more solid color of where this would now fall into the confines of the code within the home structure. And the fireplace is 12 feet from my fence. That fence is in my property, so there's probably another 6 inches, 12 inches, just based on that.
So if it's, you said 12 feet?
12 feet.
So the variance is for how much then?
They would change it to 3 feet.
The 3 feet?
Is what he'd be requesting.
So I had received from you all some questions. One of them was uniqueness of the property. To answer your question, can this be moved? This is walking into the fence to my backyard, and that dead tree, which is the reason this all got started, is I'm having some trouble with trees that need to be replaced there, would be where the fireplace would be, looking in, walking into my yard. This is a kind of a side view of that same structure. It would be right where that pot is, from a different angle where the dirt is there. Those big junipers behind it, the reason that I didn't want to do this in 2021 is because these were alive. They're now dying, so they need to be replaced, and that's what got this into my head to move the structure from where I had originally proposed. This is looking from my patio door towards directly to that dead, dying tree there is where the fireplace would be. Now, looking from the fireplace there, that is the nearest closest structure of the house next door. This is looking from the street. The house next door is to your right. My house is to your left. Those are my junipers that are dying there. In the distance is their wooden fence. My fence is metal and is within my property line. So the fence kind of varies within my property, probably, you know, 1.5 feet, 2 feet as it angles there into my property. Again, the nearest home, to answer your question, is probably 30 feet away there. This is the fence looking at that dying juniper with the top there. That's where the fireplace would be, in front of that. This is the side yard again, just for distance purposes. Now for uniqueness, this is a tiered yard. We are in the Royce subdivision. This home is the highest elevation in Royce and descends down. You all have put in storm drains in order to deal with the runoff of this before we even moved in. Because of the tiers that are connected, this is at the backyard fence looking up. That set of stairs there is to one level. There's another set of stairs beyond it to the level I am proposing to put the fireplace in. And in the distance there is the junipers, which are turning brown, where the fireplace would be. This is the second tier looking up that set of stairs. And just to your left there would be where the fireplace would be behind that, those chairs.
This is the double set of stairs looking up. This is the second tier. There was a proposal, and Mr. Thompson asked me if we could just move that to that level. Problem with that level is this distance right here where that would go is we're now back to 8 feet between the fence and that, so that would not function or that would increase the variance need. And that would be behind that middle chair there, where the fireplace would be, is too close to my neighbor's fence. It also would be more in a vision of their patio, which they may object to. This is looking up the distance the fireplace would be to the far right. That whole set of huge junipers there would be the distance I'm talking about, the 12 feet. So I did not catch originally that that was transposed on there as an incorrect distance.
Have you shown this plan to the fire department? I guess I'm confused. I'm looking at two different plans.
So the fire, Mr. Thompson and I had talked about that, and I inquired when I installed this fireplace, to your question, it would be a wood-burning fireplace, and we can put a spark arrestor in the flue of this fireplace to address those needs. The current code, I think, is 15 feet from the property line. There, I'm asking for 12 feet.
Variance of 3.
I'm asking for a variance of 3, yes.
Well, I mean, so every place in this packet that has an error in it, what's the practice of getting this thing corrected so that it's...
Yeah, under the requested action, it should say a variance for 3 feet is requested to construct the fireplace as shown on the plan.
Yes, and well, and the letter from the fire department is incorrect.
Correct, yeah.
I mean, that...
Yes, the applicant is stating that it'll be 12 feet from the property line.
Were you
Well, so
able
in
to
the-
come over and see the property? Yeah, okay.
Well, so when the city will verify that, when they pull a permit and indicates where it's going to be, the city will verify that, correct?
Correct, yeah. If the request goes through, then he would have to get a survey. I understand he didn't want to spend the money on...
Oh, that's not true. They told me it'd be 3 months.
Okay.
Is it possible for the...
It's impossible to get a surveyor to do a survey.
Approval letter also?
I can't speak for them. Travis may have some information on that.
What if we were to modify the requested action as the property owner would like to add an outdoor fireplace to the rear yard? A variance of 3 feet is requested to construct the fireplace as shown on the plan, and it would maintain a minimum of 12 feet clearance to the property line or any existing building.
That addendum would be what I would say. That is correct.
Because then you would meet the fire department's requirements as well as us voting on whether we would approve the 3-foot variance.
Right, it would meet their 10-foot requirement, and he's saying he can put in a spark arrestor.
Well, I mean, we still have to go through the 5 factors, but if we get to the point where we have a motion for approval, we need to have all those caveats in the motion, right?
Yes, sir.
But would our motion, if approved, a caveat about a spark arrestor, how does the city enforce that? Question. When you put conditions into these motions, in my mind, I always wonder, how does the city find out about this? Because, excuse me on this one, but I've had experience where I pointed out things to the city I wish they'd check out, and they don't get around to it.
Well, I think the conditions that we're talking about putting in it would be that it would be a variance of 3 feet, not 8 feet, and that it would encroach no further than 12 feet from the existing property line, build line. Is that correct?
And we would like to have
Property
a
line or
letter
building.
from the fire department that we could put in our packet, right?
Correct, yeah.
I do think his existing letter, you know, it just says the Leawood Fire Department would recommend that the BZA require a minimum of 10 feet of clearance.
10 feet.
So I think if you're going with 12 feet, which was, this was just the first time we had heard it was going to be at 12 feet, or you had that earlier. But I think that would meet his conditions. And talking to Justin in the past, it would. So.
Okay. Are there any questions, other questions from the applicant? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is anyone here that wishes to speak for or against this application? If not, then we have to evaluate the 5 factors. And based on how we vote on all 5, then that will determine if we can accept a motion for approval or denial. The first factor is uniqueness of the property.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Peppas, in a previous case, cited the reasons for us to more or less understand and agree upon what uniqueness is. If you'd like to recite those again, that'd be fine. The staff says it's not unique, and I haven't heard anything to change my mind on that one.
Other comments about uniqueness?
Mr. Chairman, hang on a second.
Yes, you have a
Just
comment?
trying to organize my thoughts. I would argue in favor of uniqueness on this particular property. I don't think we can see it here, but when I drive around and look at these, I recall this being on a cul-de-sac. It's an odd-shaped lot on a cul-de-sac, heavily treed, exquisitely landscaped. I personally find enough uniqueness in some of those attributes to think that this particular challenge has been met.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to speak on uniqueness as well. Looking at the photos that were shared with us, it shows that it's terraced into 3 different levels too, which is a pretty steep site. And it was well landscaped to address that entrance into the home. And so I think that it meets the uniqueness criteria as well.
Okay. Other comments? All those who feel that the uniqueness criterion has been satisfied, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
We voted 5 to 1 in favor of uniqueness. Rights of adjacent property owners. Mails were lettered, or letters were mailed.
Yes, sir. No calls or
No
complaints.
comments. Other comments? All those who feel that the second factor, rights of adjacent property owners, has been satisfied, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We voted in the affirmative on the second. And third is hardship.
Well, frankly, Mr. Chairman, for a lot of the reasons stated by my fellow members in favor of uniqueness, I think a hardship exists as well. Looking at the way this property is laid out and the different layers and the different curves and so forth, at first I wasn't inclined to see uniqueness or hardship, but then I looked at all these pictures and I think there would be a hardship to be able to do this some other location, quite frankly.
Other comments? All those who feel that the hardship criterion has been satisfied, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We voted in the affirmative on the third factor, and the fourth is public safety and general welfare.
Mr. Chairman, I still retain a healthy disregard for neighbor's property when you have sparks, and even they mentioned a spark arrestor being blown by southwesterly winds onto adjacent properties. I can't agree that it's safe. It meets this particular criteria.
Other comments?
I would still like to see a letter from the fire department, since they have looked at this property and reviewed some of these things, to satisfy their requirements.
Mr. Chairman, I feel since the distance between the fireplace and the adjacent homes are within the realm of what the fire department requests. I feel that it has met the safety
Okay, other comments?
and general welfare.
Others who feel that the fourth factor, public safety and general welfare criterion, has been satisfied, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
No.
Voted 5-1 in favor of the fourth factor. And last is spirit and intent.
Mr. Chairman, I'll speak on spirit and intent. I think that the homeowner and the design team did a nice job of adjusting. Obviously, they had a plan in place in 2021 and then adjusted tonight and shared with us that it could be moved into a safer place for public safety and general welfare. It keeps in the spirit and intent of providing a well-designed solution to the property and based on a 3-foot variance and meeting the 12-foot distance from any structure or property line.
Other comments? All those who feel that the spirit and intent criterion has been satisfied, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We voted in the affirmative on the last factor. We have voted all 5 factors and found that the board has found that all 5 have met the requirements. Therefore, we can support a motion for approval in this case. Is there a motion?
Page 57, 20, 23, 12609 Morgan Road. Request for a variance to the setback for replacement of an outdoor fireplace in accordance with the LDO, section 16-2-5.3D, in an R1 district be approved.
Before we approve that, I would like to amend the actual requested action to read as stated. And I'm going to take a stab at this. The property owner would like to add an outdoor fireplace to the rear yard. A variance of 3 feet is requested to construct the fireplace as shown on a revised plan that will be submitted to the city. It will meet the 12-foot setback to any property line or building structure, and board would like it to be reviewed once again by the fire marshal with the adjusted plan. Did I cover everything there?
I think so.
Okay.
Good. We have a motion for approval in this case with amendments. And we have a second?
I second both of them.
Okay. We have a motion for approval in this case and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. You'll be officially notified in writing by the city. Next case for this evening is case 58-2023. This is an address at 9730 Wananga Road. Request for a variance to the front setback for the placement of a covered entryway in accordance with LDO section 16-2-5.3D in an R1 district. Jay and Linda Coombs, owner. Does staff have a report, please?
The applicants would like to construct a new covered entryway and open-top pergola to the front of the home. The project exceeds the limit for an exception. Therefore, a variance for 3 feet, 10.5 inches is requested to construct the addition as shown on the plan.
The exception requirement would be limited by square footage, correct?
Yes, sir.
This is more than, 75 feet, is that right?
Correct.
The average build line, it says, is 44.9, correct?
Yes, sir.
Are there questions for staff in this case? I would say that build line is based on adjacent houses, correct?
Yes, sir. And, for an R1 district, it's usually it is 35 feet. All these homes exceed that.
It's too bad we don't have an Ames map we could show here because that shows the adjacent houses. Because what's interesting about this house is, you're right, they're pretty much about the same distance down the street, but then the street curves. and this house is on the curve. And so it's a little misleading. It is misleading when you look at it in relative to the other houses. Are there questions for staff? Other questions?
There's the Ames map.
Clear as mud.
Yeah, see the street curves. That's what I was talking about. Okay. So they're requesting a variance of almost 4 feet, correct?
Yes, sir.
Wade, is the total square footage of it, is it mainly because of that section off to the side of the front
The
door?
pergola,
Correct. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, if they weren't building the pergola addition, it would meet the criteria for an exception.
Other questions for staff? Is the applicant here? Please give us your names and address. Who's ever speaking? Give us your names and address.
Hello, my name is Jay Coombs, 9730 Winonga. I'm accompanied by my wife, Linda. We have 2 cases that are coming up, and I know y'all can see that. I had something I wanted to get in front of the group. I've approached all my neighbors that the letters went out to, and I showed them the models, the plans of what we were doing, and just asked them if they supported what we were doing. If they did, if they would mind, giving me their signature, showing that they supported the, what we plan to do to the home. And I got support from all people on the mailing list except for 3. Oh. And can I put this down here to? Sure. So this.
Do we need the microphone here? Yeah.
it's upside down.
Thank you. So this is what I took to my neighbors, just showing them
Stand on my head.
the model, the plan that our architect created. Just some language there about what we're trying to do, why we're in here, and you'd mentioned square footage. So yes, the pergola, as it's considered part of the entryway, that puts us at 77 square feet over the 75 square foot allotment. Do I just need to be closer? Okay, all right, thank you. I don't have a lot of experience with the microphone there. And so as I walked around to the neighborhood, I got signatures for everybody except for 3 properties. 2 properties are vacant, and the 3rd property right here at 9801 Winonga Road, I knocked on the door twice. My neighbors told me that she's an elderly woman and she keeps to herself, and I just didn't want to keep knocking on her door. And who's this strange guy, standing on her front door? So I did get around to all my neighbors. They support what we're doing there. They like the looks of the home. Right now, our home has pretty poor curb appeal, probably the poorest curb appeal on that whole run down through Winonga. So we do want a front porch. Right now you're standing out in the rain and the weather as you're trying to get in there, and we're currently not living there. We are doing a renovation on the property. We just purchased this property back in December. So the front porch, we had seen the pergola on another home in the neighborhood and just thought that really created a very welcoming, warm look to the home. At the time that we did this with our architect, I wasn't aware that the pergola would be considered part of the front porch. So whenever we submitted our application, that's when I found out that the pergola is part of the front porch. And so at that point, then I found out we now went from an exception to a variance. So maybe I can stop right there, because I think we'll probably work through this case, and then I can come back to the next one. I think we did clear up the variance by talking about it's a variance for square footage, and it does extend like 4 feet beyond the build line of the adjacent homes. I do have a site survey that's been completed showing where those homes are, and it matches what was in this packet to within about an inch. You know, so we were aware of that as we were constructing everything. I'd like to bring your attention maybe to the uniqueness of the property. I didn't intend for the build line of my home at 45.5 feet to be part of the unique attributes of this property. I was citing that we don't have a front porch as being unique to this property. That's why I'm here in front of you tonight. Yes.
Any questions for applicant? Thank you.
I don't understand that last comment about uniqueness. You said because it doesn't have a front porch, it's unique?
Yes, that's what I was trying to state as the unique element of the property. The home does not have a front porch now. So I'm asking, maybe that's not unique to everybody in everybody's eyes, but maybe I misinterpreted unique, but that's why I'm here asking for this variance, is to be able to put a front porch on our home.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood what you said.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is anyone here that wishes to speak for or against this application? You can speak if you want to. Just give us your name and address.
My name is Linda Coombs, 9730 Winonga in Leawood, and I'm his wife. So yes, I would be for it. I don't think that we have very good curb appeal to match the other homes in the neighborhood as it is now.
Okay, thank you.
Question. Will you use the pergola as a sitting viewing space, like a real front porch, or is just a visual thing for you guys?
The pergola is 6 feet deep.
Okay.
And at this section of our house, this section of the house sits 2 feet back. The bedroom on one side and the garage on the other side are 2 feet closer to the street. And so this is a recessed area. The porch is 7 feet out. The pergola backs up to 6 feet. There will be a little slab under there. So, you know, we'll have a table, we'll have a couple chairs out there. It's a place to put flower planters, to hang ferns or something up there, just to add to the appeal of the home and the neighborhood.
Keep an eye on the neighbors, things like that.
I think they're keeping an eye on me right now with all the activity we got going on there. But it's not going to be a heavily used area as far as us sitting out there. It really is a feature to add to the home and to the neighborhood.
Okay.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, again, this is a variance, so we have to evaluate the 5 factors.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Can I comment or, Wade, I'm still kind of stuck on the square footage of the pergola and the front porch. 75 feet is what the requirement is, and we're like at 77?
An additional 77.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, sorry.
I just want to say, the only reason that they require variance is because of the adjacent houses to take the average.
Right.
And I think if I wish we could bring up an Ames map and you could see the fact that an additional 4 feet is not even, it will not even be noticeable in this case. Okay, uniqueness of the property.
Mr. Chairman, I think one aspect of uniqueness, just as you described, is that this whole line of houses along this street are all at various setback lengths. I don't know what this one's at exactly, but certainly kind of a variable setback policy is unique.
It's unique because it's different.
Others who feel the uniqueness criterion is satisfied in this case, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We voted in the affirmative on the first. factor, and the second is rights of adjacent property owners.
I'll speak to rights of adjacent property owners. The homeowners actually took the initiative and contacted the neighbors to get support, and they received that, minus a few either vacant or non-responsive. So, it's a common problem along that whole street. It's based on the average of the build line. So I feel like that the rights of adjacent properties have been met.
All those who feel that the second factor, rights of adjacent property owners criterion is satisfied, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We voted in the affirmative on the second factor, and third is hardship.
Mr. Chairman, my question on hardship in this particular case, it's included because of the other factors that we have to address, but in and of itself, is it really a factor on this particular case? I'm just asking.
Other comments? All those who feel the hardship criterion has been satisfied in this case, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We voted in the affirmative on the third factor. The fourth is public safety and general welfare. I think staff knows that approval or denial of this request will not affect this factor. So, in light of that, all those who feel that the fourth factor, public safety and general welfare criterion, has been satisfied, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. We voted affirmative on the fourth factor, and last is spirit and intent. Any comments?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I don't think this is going to damage the look and feel of that neighborhood, or probably improve it.
It looks like the architects did a good job in coming up with a design that complements the property, as staff said. So, in light of that, all those who feel the spirit and intent criterion has been satisfied, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We have voted in the affirmative on all five factors, therefore we can support a motion for approval in this case.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve case 58-2023, 9730 Winonga Road, a request for a variance to the front setback for the placement of a covered entryway in accordance with the LDO section 16-2-5.3 parent D parent in an R1 district.
We have a motion for approval in
Second.
case 58-2023 and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. You'll be officially notified in writing for the city. The next case is by the same applicants, Jay and Linda Coombs owner, case 59-2023, 9730 Winonga Road, request for a variance to the side yard setback in accordance with LDO section 16-2-5.3D in an R1 district. Does staff have a report, please?
The applicants would like to add a bedroom to the basement of the home. The home was constructed encroaching the side yard build line. A request for 5 feet is needed to place the window wells 10 feet from the property line as shown on the plan.
Is that really what they're proposing as far as the visual look of? Go back to the rendering.
That's what it was submitted, so.
Question. Does Leawood, and if my memory's right, Leawood requires that if you have a bedroom in the basement, you have to have some way to escape. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Will these openings, to your knowledge, be large enough to permit escape?
The plan would have to be approved once it's submitted. Yeah, the plans examiner will make sure it meets all the criteria for egress.
Thank you.
So, I mean, as I look at this, I'm thinking that might stick up above the ground line about a foot or so.
Yeah, I don't know the dimensions of how tall it would stick up, but I would say, yeah, at least 6, 8 inches.
But that would still
For-
justify a variance requirement.
Well, anything, because the home encroaches the side yard, anything done on that side of the house would require the request.
Okay.
So this brick side we're looking at now already encroaches on the property line?
Yes, sir.
So it's legal non-conforming as it currently exists?
Yes, sir.
So anything on this side is going to need a variance?
Exactly.
Okay.
So what's the setback of that house there?
Well, it should be 15, but
It's
it's.
13.9, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Questions for staff? Would you like to, again, present your case? Give us your name and address again.
Yes, thank you. Jay Coombs, 9730 Winonga Road. Please. So just to get this on record again, I did approach my neighbors on the side variance as well. Thank you. On the side variance as well. Same story, gave them the information up front. This is a model. This isn't drawn exactly to scale where those window wells are going to be. We do have 36-inch clearance between the house and the edge of the window well for egress, planning on an 8-inch concrete foundation around there. So we're starting out at 13 foot 9 inches, -3, -8. That puts us right at 10 feet off the property line. So a nice thing about this side of the house is that the grade is level from front to back and from north to south. So we can size those window wells as close to the ground as we can and just landscape around them to, obviously you want them to be open so people see them, you can use them, but we can landscape around them and you know, make sure that they're not an ugly feature from the road, if you will. You will notice there's a window right here on the front side of the house. A window well could go right there and avoid this setback variance. But that is on the front side of the house. And if you see how the grade is falling from right to left across the front side of the house, when we put a window well there, you know, if we're 4 inches high on one end, we're going to be 12 inches high on the other end. So putting both of these on the south side of the house just really helps preserve that look from the street. That was what everything that was behind the location of them. And then same group, I had them at the same time, so all but the 3 properties had an opportunity to review that with me and give us their support.
Okay. Are there questions for the applicant? Well, if not, we have to evaluate the 5 factors. The first is uniqueness of the property.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'll stab at that one again. I think, as before, the variability of setbacks on these homes in this area makes virtually each one of them somewhat unique.
I would just add, Mr. Chairman, that I'm inclined to find that it's a unique factor that to do anything on this side, they're going to need a variance because they're already out of conformation with the, if they're going to do anything, put awnings on the windows, they'd have to have a variance for it, probably. I don't know. I'm just talking out of my head. I find that to be unique.
Okay. Other comments? All those who feel that the uniqueness criterion has been satisfied, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We have found that the uniqueness criterion has been satisfied. The second is rights of adjacent property owners. It appears that everybody in the neighborhood is supportive of the project based on on the signatures made. Other comments? All those who feel that the rights of adjacent property owners' criterion has been satisfied, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We agree with that one. And the last is hardship, or the third is hardship.
Mr. Chairman, I think the hardship's been met because these window wells have to be done if the basement's going to be redone. And in being done with the legal non-conforming structure falls into play. So hardship's been met.
I think the argument that that these window wells could be masked from the street by landscaping is where it'd be harder to in the front. Plus, he mentioned that the grade falls away from the house in the front. So, all those who feel the hardship criterion has been satisfied, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We voted in affirmative on the third factor, and spirit and public safety and general welfare is number 4. Staff made an interesting comment about the fact that these are close to the property line, that it could create a dangerous situation for anyone using space between the homes. I mean, it's fairly common for these to be used in homes, in older homes.
Correct. But if kids were running through the yard, or, if they put the landscaping up like they said, of course, none of that's reflected in the application, but I'm just thinking about kids running through the neighborhood. There's not that much room between the property line and the window well.
I guess I would just note that I did think about that, but the fact is that there's all sorts of places around the city where window wells could go in without need for us hearing anything because it wouldn't be a variance. The only reason this is a variance is because of the property line.
Yes.
And where it's at.
I don't find that dispositive.
All those who feel that the public safety and general welfare criterion has been satisfied, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We voted in the affirmative on the fourth factor, and last is spirit and intent.
Well, Mr. Chairman, it states right in our packet that the intent is to maintain the appropriate setbacks for the district while allowing additions that fit the neighborhood. I mean, we're not talking about a building or a structure, we're talking about window wells. I can't imagine how that is going to significantly negatively impact the appropriate setbacks for the district.
Other comments? All those who feel the spirit and intent criterion has been satisfied, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
We have voted in affirmative on all 5 factors. Therefore, we can support a motion for approval in this case. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve case 59-2023 9730 Wenonga Road. Request for a variance to the side yard setback in accordance with the LDO section 16-2-5.3 D in parens in an R-1 district.
Second.
We have a motion for approval in case 59-2023 and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. You'll be officially notified in writing by the city.
Move for adjournment.
That is our last case for this evening. Motion for adjournment.
Yes, so moved.
We stand adjourned.